Sawadee and welcome here to another episode for the Funky Pod. It's another Saturday, so it means academic corner time. Every Saturday we talk about how to make education, teaching in higher education, a bit more engaging, accessible, and so on. And as I mentioned the last time that we had the pleasure of meeting, I said, okay, now we're done with like the base concepts of like how do we understand what it means to be like engaging in class and how to manage classroom settings and so on. And we're going to actually go into detail on like giving actual examples, ideas, sharing experiments, and so on. And well, I figured to kick off the sharing part of this whole community that we're trying to build here with the Academic Corner, I'm going to share a WTF moment, like a failure, something that didn't go as planned. And it just happened not too long ago, actually this past week when the semester kicked off. And while it happened, I thought, yep, that's going to be something interesting to share. So bear with me, I'm going to share with you something that I tried that didn't work out. So yeah, welcome to this new episode after this quick teaser where we explore how to engage students a little bit more. And this time I try to experiment/explore in regards to group selection processes, right? So as it is in many classes, you have a big class, you probably have some group assignment here or there. Same here in one of my classes. This class is called Digital Strategies. One of my favorite classes because I was able to create it from scratch, basically. And it's usually very well liked by students, very well requested. We have a cap on there of like usually 45 students. It's always full, very, very fast, and which is nice. Which shows, hey, students will like the idea of the class because they don't yet know what's going to happen, of course. But also means I always work with like max capacity. Usually we open a few more seats to accommodate like other students as well. So it's usually around 50 students, okay? All right, so group work time, right? So in this time, I didn't want to assign the group work because actually it's actual real projects, right? So it's like real life work that they're doing in this digital strategies class. This real life work now, however, I figured, well, not everybody likes the same things, right? So my idea was, well, I give you 4 different categories, 4 different options. You go towards the option that you like the most. So one option, for example, was working with a real-life client. So in this case, I have 2 real-life clients lined up. You work with them, okay? The other option was like also real-life clients, but like specific website projects that the client gives us. So the client says, hey, yeah, we have like this website, this topic. We want you to create a digital strategy for that. Like, doesn't need to be like then just website, could be like an app, could be whatever, but like a very specific topic, only focusing on like this one topic. For example, like one would be about pickleball, right? So we have a client who works like in a pickleball setting, and they're like, hey, we have this website about pickleball. We want to build a community about it. Do it, okay? That's one. The other client work is more like digital strategy for the overall company, not just like marketing, for example. Okay, so that's like the 2 differences. Like one is like working on a web-based project, the other one is working with like in a whole client environment. Then the third one would be like a research. You can do a research if you want to, for example, AI in communication, because it would fit us just as an example, right? So there was one, and then another one would be like organizing the event that we have every year. We do an event in this class called Digital Strategies of Tomorrow, happening in November, stay tuned. And so one group has to organize that, plan everything, create like an outline, and whatever you need to do for this, right? So then the theory was, okay, I'm not gonna assign this, and I'm not gonna just what I did before. I just showed all like the 10 different projects. I'm like, hey, now make groups and pick, and first come, first serve. I figured, hey, I don't want them just to stick together with their friends. I want them to pick what they really want the most. So I had it like very vague. I said like, okay, one is client work, one is web project work, the other one is research, and the last one is like the event. And just go towards, like I put it on like whiteboards, right? I have 4 whiteboards in 4 different corners of the room. I'm like, just move toward that whiteboard that resonates the most with you. So that resonates with your skills the most. right? If you're good at organizing stuff and you enjoy that, go towards the event. If you're good at like communicating with strangers, go to the client work, and so on. That was the idea. Then it obviously didn't go as planned, because the idea again was students would go into a corner that matches their skills, their interests. But of course, there was something else in play that actually influenced the decision making way more than what they like, their skills, and whatnot. More on this in just a second, okay? But it's revealed like way more of like how the whole class setting would work, okay? So we had those 4 stations: real clients, websites, research, faculty event. And what was cool was, I prepared this before, and so I placed the whiteboards in those 4 corners. I flipped them around so the students wouldn't see it when they enter the classroom. And so then when I said, hey, now I have to the reveal in regards to your final project, turn those whiteboards around. And they were like, oh my God, what's happening? That was kind of cool. Okay, so students are like, hey, that's something new, something different. He prepared something we didn't expect. That was this eagerness to see like, hey, what's actually going to happen? That was nice. Okay, and then I said, okay, now you see it, now move physically, because I want to change things up a little bit. If you move, you have to think a little bit, gives you more time to think. Do I really want to go into that way or that way? Now move physically towards the corner that you like the most. And that's where it started. 2 corners got like all the students. 1 corner got like a bit of students, and the last one didn't get any students. Yes, so that was interesting. Now, what happened exactly, right? So what happened exactly was that the group, or like the corner with like client work, got lots of students, and the one with the faculty event got lots of students. That was very surprising, because the last time I had this class, nobody wanted to organize that faculty event, because I think students realized, hey, that's really a lot of work. We A, have to run the event, and B, we also have to promote it. And we have to follow up and all those things, right? And we have to invite people, communicate, and whatever. But this time, lots of people wanted to do that. Interesting enough, then for the website project, there was just 1 group at first, and nobody wanted to do research, which I now realized why. It was not because of the topics, it was just because even though it's 4th year students, the students didn't do much research work yet. So that just sounded intimidating. I talked with the students afterwards, like, hey, why did no one go there? So that was like one of the reasons. But more in just a second, right? So what was really interesting was here that after the anticipation of like, hey, what's happening now with those 4 different whiteboards on the walls, right? Students then realized, hey, everyone's going to the same place. Damn, not everybody can do all those projects at the same time, right? We cannot have 20 students working with like 2 clients. We cannot have 20 students working on 1 event, for example. So then the students realized, oh, that doesn't really go that well or as planned. And I'm not getting the project that I think I want. Okay, so that was a very interesting realization, because then the energy shifted a little bit. From like anticipating, like, yeah, what's happening now, to like, oh, wait, what's happening now? 1 second, do I not get in my project? So that was a very interesting, move here that I didn't expect, right? And moving into like the analysis part here, right? Like, why did this happen? The thing is, I tested this before in a different class, and more on this also in a second. In the different class, it worked much differently. So first, I think, like, why did it happen? I think, like, the allure of working with real-life clients, is something like that's different to maybe other classes. Like, I did so many projects over the last 3 years. I want to do something real. So maybe that's one why everyone gathered around that real-life client thing. There's also a reason why I only invited, like, 2 clients to do this kind of work. I mean, like I said, I have more, like, projects from clients, like specific projects, but it's like work with like those 2 brands. Like, you have an impact on those 2 brands, not just on a project. Okay, so that's the main difference. I did this before. I had like more of those brand specific clients before. Like, the student's going to have an impact on the whole brand, and they really have to go there and work there. And it wasn't always the best quality because not every student in the class obviously is super dedicated towards said class. So I was like, okay, maybe I turn this down a little bit. I only have like 2 clients that really get the students involved. You come to the office, and like not all the time because they're still full-time students, but they're more involved. And then the others focus on like project-based work more, right? So that was the idea, because it's easier to handle, a little bit less time-consuming. And so I thought that was like better in regards to maybe not all the students are super dedicated. I realized that I should have made that point more clear, that like also the web projects, and I just called it web projects because I didn't know any better. I should have made clear that they are also real world projects from clients that they're actually running. Because as I realized later, while I tried to make students move from the one group to another group to say, hey, how about you try something else? That they didn't realize that. So it was my mistake of not communicating it clearly enough, which is a very good learning for me here. Like I really need to be more clear in communicating. Yeah, so that was important for me to learn. Secondly, then, what was interesting was that students really discussed a lot. When I said, for example, hey, we cannot have 20 people working on the faculty event, I said, usually I want to have 5 people, and that's more than enough to work on the faculty event. They try to argue like, no, but if it's a big event, I'm like, yeah, guys, we did this before. I have experience here. There's a reason why we have like this max number of people in a group, and so on. I mean, you know the drill, right? So students argued a lot, which I haven't expected and never really experienced before. But I think that's also because, again, I didn't communicate the other projects well enough, maybe, and B, what I realized later on, when we then, after everything settled and we discussed like, hey, what happened, reflected on like why were we so eager for some projects and why didn't we want to do the other projects, is that they said not every class is that engaging, is that active. And so once they saw the chance, they were jumping on it. I'm like, okay, fair enough. If that's really the case, and I don't know about many other classes, obviously, but if that's the case, then wow, okay, well, more power to you. If you're like that excited about like doing something real, more power to you. I appreciate that. Eventually, we were able to say, okay, those other web projects are also real clients. They exist in real life. And then I explained it like the way I explained it right now. And then students were like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then they found topics that they're really into as well. Okay, so it just took more explaining, and I should have done it before rather than after. No one went into the research corner, and I couldn't convince anyone to take the research corner. And then students afterwards explained it to me, and when I asked, hey guys, reflection time, like what happened, what went okay, what did you like, what didn't you like? And they said research just sounds so intimidating, because of course, they have to do their thesis in the 4th year, but it's next semester. So they haven't done any real research paper just yet. And so research just sounded so intimidating, and maybe I should find a way to make it less intimidating. I said, okay, that's a fair point. I shouldn't just say it research. I should maybe find a different way to make it more appealing to the students. That's a fair point. I think also a lesson learned here for me. Yeah, a few other lessons that I learned here is, it's a learning experience. And I mentioned it. I tried another class. I tried it in one other class. And I tried it in a class where I'm a guest lecturer. And it's a class from Europe with 98% European students. And in this class, the students really they moved into the corners according to what they personally like. Now, in the other class that I had this week, it's here in Thailand, right? It's a Thai class with 90% Thai students, 100% Asian students in this case. And the group, community feeling, the group movement was so big that the groups moved as a whole. So not the individual person moved, not the individual student went to what they liked the most. They moved as a whole group from topic 1 to topic 2 and so on. And I didn't expect it as much as it happened. I thought, okay, maybe it happens a little bit, but I thought maybe they go more for what they really like. But actually, the group aspect was more important. I had a talk, as I said, we reflected on it later, and I think reflection is very important for students, for teachers, and so on, to see like what worked, what didn't work. And then some students explained like, that actually this group feeling is very important to them, because over the last 3 years, you learn like who you can work with, who you can't work with much, who you can trust, who you can't trust. So it's more important to find the right people rather than the right project. That's how they explain it. And that was something I did not consider because, in my opinion, I thought, hey, in theory, after 3 years at uni, everybody should be able to actually, get things done. But I didn't expect it to be like that impactful, that group thought, that group thinking. So that was a big learning here for me. Okay, so a few takeaways, right? From a student perspective, you got to be empathetic towards the experience they had before. They didn't really know what's happening. The research sounds a bit intimidating, and that they really want to stick with their groups. Okay, I think it's also important that in the future I'm gonna formulate the goals more clearly, the challenges and the goals for each of those different project types, right? And what I did eventually, I was a bit taken aback by all the arguments, and I caught myself like saying like, no, okay, I'm not going to argue back. I'm going to give you the chance to voice your concern first, because I think that's important. But I felt attacked because I planned everything, right? I felt like, hey, why are you attacking my planning? That's what I felt. But before I argued back, I said like, okay, as long as you're polite, voice your concern. I'll think about it. Like I'll think about it while you're saying it, and then I respond accordingly. And some points were well made, and I'm happy that students made those points. I said, okay, yeah, you're right. Like that makes sense. I understand why you're saying that. I still have my reason for planning it like this. Let me explain. But you make a good point. Maybe we can find like a middle way, for example. And we did. So everybody is happy-ish now, which is fine. It just took way longer than expected. So strategies for the future, what I noted down, what I can improve, I think maybe debate more like the merits and the fears of each project, like an open discussion amongst those groups. Maybe more of a nuanced role for me, like to also actually guide more, like have group, maybe have them form the groups first, in this case, unfortunately, and then have nuanced discussion, like, hey, what do you guys really like? Like, what do you want to do? And I thought I can do this individually by moving them into those different corners. Didn't work because the group think is so strong. So maybe just do the group thing first and then have nuanced discussions with those groups. I'm not sure yet. I still would love for students to follow their passion rather than the group. So I have to see how to do this, right? A few principles or things that I try to integrate next time. I think highlighting this intrinsic motivation part that I try to do like here on an individual basis, like the self-determination, right? I'm gonna try to highlight this a little bit more. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but I think I need to highlight this a little bit more. It's really like down to you. It's you're deciding what you want to do in this course, because it leads to like more autonomy. And I have to be aware of those group dynamics somehow. I'm not sure if I should forcefully break up the groups that I had over the last 3 years in many classes, or if I should like randomize them, or let's see what we do with that. So I think just like broadening the whole theme a little bit more might be helpful there to be a bit more flexible. So it was something things up that did not go as planned. In my head, it was all very smooth. It took like an hour in the end to get all things done and sorted. Eventually, we all have the projects set, and everyone already did some good work initially, like making plans and so on. So I'm happy with that. I think reflection really helped in the end to also discuss with almost every group, apart from those who weren't present in class, but with every other group, what happened, why, and so on. So I think that made sense and really helped. So I think, as you know from previous episodes, videos, I'm a big fan of believer in reflection for students as well as for teachers, in this case for both of us, both parties. So I think that really helped a lot. Okay, so hey, so I hope next time I can share something positive. Even though there was also something positive, I learned something, right? So, but maybe in next time I'll share actually a few experiments that went well, because there are experiments that went well actually as well. But let me know how you feel. What did you try? Something that you experiment with, something that went well, that didn't go as well, some learnings that you took from it, and so on. That's it for this week for the Academic Corner. As always, don't forget to do that thing, your assignment, liking, sharing, subscribing, and so on. And yeah, we will talk soon. Stay safe, take care, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Saudi Cup.